G'day guys, my name's Chris, aka I Ride Taz. Welcome back to the carport and welcome back to the CD90Z Restomod build where we've put a Lifan engine, it's 140cc, into a CD90Z 1969 model frame. We're basically making a pit bike out of this CD90Z and it's working a treat. And in the last video we took it for a test ride, and as you probably saw, we got the carb running really nice. The bike is running in. I rode for about half an hour with no real issues and it was a barrel of fun. But a couple of criticisms I ended up having was that the rear shocks were way too hard. The front shocks don't have much fluid in it, if any. So that's too soft and has no damping, and the seat that's on it is pretty crap, and the bars that are on it are maybe a little bit low for the size bike it is. So in this video I plan on rectifying some of those issues, continuing the modifications to make it more rideable. I really don't want to take these Wilbur shocks off because they just look so good, but they're way too stiff. It's basically just riding a hardtail, which if this was a bar hopper bobber, no problem. The fact that we're trying to create a sort of off-road bike makes it very, very uncomfortable. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to get rid of them. These shocks are awesome, but they were for a Speedmaster, and my Speedmaster I think is about 236 or 240 kilograms, and this bike's about 76 kilograms. So bottom line is that that spring is way too hard to dampen this bike, so we've got to get rid of them. What I am planning is these KZ 450 or 650 shocks that I have in the shed. We'll pop them on. They're at the same length, so I'll get the same amount of clearance, but they're for a much softer bike. So ultimately we'll chuck them on and see if they work. So I've got to find some inserts that fit that. Okay. So I just had a look through my collection and I found some inserts, bushings that fit, and so we can just slide this on. Oops. There we go. So yeah, they are the same length as the other ones. Okay, we'll just pop the other side on. Yeah, so there's the KZ shocks installed there on the softest preload setting. Still got heaps of room because they're the same length as the Wilbur shocks, but as you can see, they certainly flex and give me some suspension and dampening, which is great. It'll make the ride a lot more comfortable. So next, we will get on to having a look at this seat, get this dodgy one off and have a look at installing the one that's going to sit permanently on the bike. Just got it attached with some wing nuts here, just to make life easy. So we just pull those wing nuts off. That off, and I'll just grab the other seat. But that's the seat there. I prefer it to the one that I just whacked on, but I certainly don't love it, and I'm going to readdress it down the track because this gap here just detracts from the look of the bike. So we will look at how we're going to mount this seat, or I'll look at other seat options to just fill that gap in. But for the moment, it's fine, and it's rideable, and it's much more comfortable. I've got several different mudguard options, but this is the quickest to install. Again, it's an eBay item for a CG125, and seemingly a fair few parts for these bikes are interchangeable. That's handy, because it means that I don't have to cut down the stock mudguard. Using 1969 fittings that are rusty, but they will work. Awesome. So, as I said, I've got a couple of different mudguard options, but that was the simplest to install for today, and I think it looks pretty good. Yeah. Just got a little CG125 eBay mudguard installed. I don't at this point think I'll run a cam, so I'm just going to install these a heat shield, which will just protect the leg a bit, as they're quite cheap single skin exhausts, so they do get very hot. Yeah, so that's there installed. It'll help keep my leg off the exhaust pipe, prevent it from getting burnt. So guys, when I was riding the bike, I found that these bars, although they look amazing, were a little bit too low, particularly when you're trying to stand up. So what I've bought are these tall Pitbike bars. They're RHK. They feel amazing. They're awesome quality. They're going to sit about there and just give me a little bit more rideability off-road. Yeah, it's probably going to reduce the desert sled look, but it'll make it a little bit more rideable and a little bit more chuckable off-road. These were $54 and I got them from MX Store in Queensland, and I've always had a lot of success with that place. They arrived in about 48 hours. Yeah, I can't say enough about how good MX Store Australia is through eBay, so yeah, I'd highly recommend it. But what we're going to do is get these grips off, get everything off, put the bars on and put them back on, and it should just make it a little bit more rideable off-road. Guys, in that video, we just fixed a few problems that I discovered when I test rode the bike in the last video. So the biggest change was the installation of these pit bike bars. The original bars were down here and they were quite hard on my back. These, while I don't love the look, they certainly improve my posture and perfect height for standing up on, which will improve my riding and my confidence. So I think for a loss of aesthetics, maybe the bars are better, but yeah, I'm not convinced. I don't know if I love them, but I'll give them a few test rides and see how it's going. I might find something that's about half the height and chrome just to claw back a little bit of that desert sled aesthetic I was going for. But we'll leave these on for a while and take it for a test ride. Yeah, this bike is great. I absolutely love it. I've taken it for a few rides and a couple of those were off camera, and it's really improving my confidence off-road. I really should have bought something like this years ago rather than just jumping onto an XR250, which was too tall, too heavy for me. But yeah, I'm really loving this bike. I am excited about it still. I can't wait to do a few off-road adventures on it and bring those to you guys through the channel. But guys, those videos are always going to be on a Tuesday at 3:30 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, go to buymeacoffee.com/iRideTaz, or just go to the super thanks below the description bar. Any donation through super thanks or buy me a coffee goes straight into buying stuff like these pit bike bars for the bike and the projects. Yeah, not sure what I'm going to do on the next video. There's still a lot to go. Obviously, I've still got the frame to paint and all these sorts of things, but I've got a few ideas to just jazz up the back end with a guard and some grab handles and things like that, and I'll probably get onto that in an upcoming video. But guys, I'll leave you there. My name's Chris. Thanks for joining me. Have a great week. See you next time. Till then, I'm out, guys.